right, what's up, you dirt bags? We are back. We've got episode 9. Huge guest. But first, got to welcome in my co-host, Luke Payne, owner of Black Iron Dirt. What's going on, Luke?
Cheers, brother. What's going on with you? Good to be on again on this fine Thursday.
Dude, we've got a massive guest. The dirt bags community has spoken. Literally unanimous decision, like who they want on the podcast next. In studio from Ottawa, we've got host of the Expo ConAg podcast, Taylor White from Ken White Construction. How we doing, brother?
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm doing good. I'm happy to be on. You really hyped me up there, so hopefully I live up to it.
We're stoked to have you on, man.
Yeah, we got to hype you up. Honestly, like, we've had tons of great guests on and everything, but I mean, what you're doing in the industry too is just like people want to know more about you, what you're doing for Expo, all this stuff. So I feel like there's so much to dive into. So first, I guess let's dive into a little bit of the Expo ConAg podcast. So just launched the first episode. You had Pushy 6 on. Talk a little bit about that and what we can look forward to here.
Yeah, man. So it's been something that's been in the works for a while. I think it was about 4 months ago. I got an email and it was from the team over there, and they're like, hey, we've been watching your stuff and we think that you'd be a great fit for this. What do you think? And I always and I'm not trying to humble myself here, but I was just like, there's so many other guys that probably would be better at this, or guys or girls that would be better at this. And they're like, no, like, we think that you'd be really good at this. So like right from day one, they supported me. They're like, we want you to do this. So I kind of put some thought into it. We talked, ended up like loving the team that I'm working with over there. And it was just like an awesome fit. They're like, my biggest thing is I'm like, I got to have freedom, I got to be able to do what I want and like, talk how I want. And they're like, yeah, like just do your thing. Like just have guests on, whoever you want to have on. And like, obviously there's an agenda that we, have to like stick to and talk about. But other than that, like, it's just kind of, it worked out. It was something I was kind of looking for. And it's nice having a team behind me as well, too, like the audio and video team, and having people like support. There's really good support from them. But the coolest thing in like the first episode with Scott, Pushy 6, is like actually getting to get further than just like DMs with these people, You guys probably talk to so many people over Instagram, but then it's so different. Like even right now, what we're doing, like sitting down and actually having an hour-long conversation with them, or an hour and a half. Sometimes you look at the time, you're like, oh shit, like this has been going on longer. But honestly, that's one of the coolest things. And we have a lot of awesome guests lined up. I just filmed one. The one that's going to be released next is an absolute banger, and I can't wait for people to listen. The one that I filmed yesterday or 2 days ago, awesome podcast, unreal guest from Ontario. So yeah, there's lots coming down the pipeline, and I'm super excited for the opportunity.
Are we shooting for I saw like 1 or 2 a month roughly? Is that kind of just depends?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm bad at promoting my own stuff. We're coming to you guys like 1 to 2 times per month. I believe September will be 2 and October 1. But the plan is to kind of just get out there, have conversations about the industry, talk about stuff that honestly this is why I like it. I get to talk to people that I normally wouldn't get to talk to, and ask them stuff that I want to know about because of like my business. Like, what about fuel prices? What about labor shortages? What about the economy? Like my last guest that was on, and I don't mention their names because I like hyping it up and keeping it a secret, and this guy, I'm just like, we just got into it talking about the economy and like the uncertainty and where do you think it's going, and construction, and like, because it's all in everybody's heads, right? Mm-hmm. Interest rates are going up. The Bank of Canada, we just raised it 75-point basis this week. Jeez. So yeah, so we talk about stuff that's relevant to everybody else that's listening, and I feel like there's so much value that could be pulled from that, because like I'm not some wizard, and I'm not trying to tell you guys financial advice or the economy. Like, I'm not smart like that, so like pulling information from people is what I love about it, and I know that that's what the audience will love about it.
No, that's interesting. I like that. Do you find it hard to like find guests for that, or do you get a lot of people like, hey, this person would really be good, or do you just kind of have like a roster of like, I want him for this, I want him for that type thing?
Yeah, honestly, like, so I'm bad with like forgetting people all the time. Like even my personal life, this isn't just like in business. In my personal life, I'll be like, oh yeah, I have friends, I forgot about them. So there's people that'll be like, hey man, like I kind of want to come on. And I'm like, dang, yes, you're right, sorry, okay, let's schedule it in.
Let's do it.
But I kind of like right from the get-go, I knew people that it was like, yep, this one, this one, this one, this one. Pushy Six was honestly somebody that I really wanted to talk to right off the bat, just because like I wanted to know what he had going on, you know, like when I first started Instagram, he was like he was the dirt world on Instagram. And then a bunch of other people started doing it as well. And then I kind of feel like I didn't hear from him for a bit. And then all of a sudden now he has like a production team and he's hiring people and editors. And I was just like, I gotta talk to this guy. I gotta find out what's going on and what he thinks about like social media and what's he doing. And so it's a lot of that, just kind of like my own personal interest, I guess.
That's cool. I
Mhm.
like that. I feel like what I think is really cool about Con Expo asking you to do that whole podcast. I feel like in the Instagram space, the TikTok space, everybody knows Taylor White and KWC, right?
Wow.
Like everybody knows who you are. Everyone knows like the machines. Like you is just like the face of the company. So that's really cool to see. But as far as like getting your take on things, I feel like that'll really kind of explode because again, a lot of people look up to you in the industry. What you've done, because you're what, 26?
27.
27. Okay, so
Yeah.
we're all really close to the same
Yep.
age. But what you've built, it honestly, it's super cool. You've
Yeah.
created such a following, and I really think just in like the space of social media, you are like the trendsetter. Everyone's like, I want to make a video, but I don't want it quite to be like KWC's, but I'm gonna do a lot of the same things in it, right?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's yeah, again with the hype up stuff, I appreciate it, man. And honestly, I I'm not I just don't think of it like that. Like I love that you think it's that way. And I love that maybe people do see it that way. And maybe I just don't, I'm just not opening my eyes enough. But like, I don't know. I've just always created content. I feel like that was maybe different.
Mhm.
I feel like I kind of take a different approach at it. And I feel like you're right with saying that maybe people find it interesting for my input on the construction industry, because I feel like if there's something that I lack, it's actually like getting into, because it's a lot of reels and music and like, yes, I have stories and a lot of my content on is social media is like kind of like montage, a little bit of a talking part, explaining the job. So I think like, yeah, you're right with maybe people hearing my input on stuff or actually hearing my thought process rather than just watching the content. You know what I mean? Like maybe
Yeah.
the thoughts behind why I create what I create, how I'm creating it, what I'm building, how I built it, rather than just like, oh, here's some content, or here's the business and it just blew up in the last 4 years and my dad gives me an allowance every week and it's just
Yeah.
given.
Yeah. No.
Taylor, the tough thing with that, and I heard it in the podcast, is the algorithms are changing and like the platforms are changing where you almost can't tell the story in the captions anymore because it's just the TikTok style. We just flick it up. And so these short form videos are taking precedent over some of these long form stories. So like, how do you combat that without just going with the status quo? Because you also have to work with the trends and work with Instagram and whatever is working. So how do you combat that and like stay telling your story as well?
Well, I feel like you can tell the story through your content. I feel like I can create content that conveys the message that we're growing, we're busy, and this is the work that we do, without actually getting on or writing a description about being like, like, hey, 4 years ago we were 4 guys and right now we have 22 guys, and then this week I had this and this guy, and I just hired this and I hired this. But rather than like talking about it, like showing that in the content, like montages and in the description being like, this, like, so far this is Wednesday, this is Monday from Wednesday. Like, and I do a lot of that. My editor, like, he started 4 weeks ago, he'll edit up clips from Monday to Wednesday, and I'll make it known that that's just Monday to Wednesday. And it'll just be like a dozer on one job, digging an excavation, a commercial project, a topsoil at the yard. And that conveys like, oh shit, they've done all that in 3 days. Like, oh shit, okay, they're pretty busy. Oh wow, I didn't know that they did commercial site prep. That's cool to see that they do that as well. So I feel like just showing it, conveying the story through the content is really important, but you're right with staying relevant. And I think a lot of it is just like, I like making the type of content that I like to make for sure. But you have to please people. So I like finding, like for TikToks, there's different content for everything, right? Instagram is reels. And sometimes like I don't post like that, what I post on TikTok, I probably post like 20% of my TikToks on Instagram reels, because it's just a different platform, you know?
Yeah.
Like TikTok, you can get away with like, it's a TikTok-y sound, you know? Sometimes me and my videographer will go back and forth on that. He'll be like, oh, I got this sick song for a YouTube video. And I'm like, no, dude, that's a TikTok song. You can't, some stuff conveys back, but I don't know, like making content that's specific to each platform is super important.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
So Taylor, I was diving in the last few weeks, kind of just listening to some more podcasts and everything. And you're on Dirt Talk twice. And I gotta say, so it's funny because I listened to the most recent one. So it's Dirt Talk 101, if anyone wants to go back and listen to it. But then I went back and listened to Dirt Talk 24.
Yeah.
And
you
the
were
audio was rough. And so it is amazing to hear though, like the story of like where you were at and then how everything is just like cleared up, but you've also gone through a lot more too. So it obviously hasn't been easy and it's still not easy. And you talk a lot about that, of just the bigger you get and the higher you scale, the more issues you have. So like, what is like your top 1 or 2 issues right now that you're kind of battling with or dealing with?
Finding A-type people and cash flow. Those 2 things. When you're growing, I mean, that's what keeps me up at night. Mainly cash flow. That's what keeps me up at night. And it's more specific, like that's kind of all the time. Because like there's nothing I love. So the A-type thing, I'll touch on that. So an A-type person would be like, you know, because there's A-type, B-type, and C-types of people in every industry, and you need every single type of person. You need an A, you need a B, and you need a C. And there's nothing wrong with being an A or a B or a C. You can make just as much money doing an A, B, or C, but an A is like my right-hand man, Brad, he's an A-type, you know, he's like, he'll stay to the office till 8:30 and then come in at 5, and like I'll text him on Saturday about work, and you know what I mean? He's just like he's
always present.
There. He's present, he's committed, he's in it for the long haul, he understands the vision, he sees the vision. And not to, you know, like I have an awesome freaking team, but Brad is just, he involves himself with it. And I think as a man or a woman in whatever your career, you have to understand what type of person you are, because like you have to be honest with yourself and be like, yeah, like on Friday, like I do like to get off a little earlier than everybody else, you know? And it's like, okay, well then that makes you probably not an A-type person, you know, and that's okay. An A-type person would be like, nah, fuck that. Like I'm gonna stay at work tonight.
Yep.
So finding A-type people is really awesome. I love finding A-type people. Obviously they're incredibly hard to find because they don't need you. They're already doing something fantastic on their own. That's what makes them an A-type person.
Mm-hmm.
And then cash flow, that's hard when you're growing. I feel like not enough people talk about that. I feel like a lot of people just, and I don't talk about it ever really. I don't get the opportunity to, because I just, maybe it would hit, I don't know, but
Let's dive into the cash flow. What is it like on your end? Is it people not paying? Is it taking all these projects and kind of overextending to where you're like, okay, how the fuck am I going to cover the materials, the labor, and everything else involved?
Yeah, it's growing. It's the growth and not taking outside investments. I've had the opportunity of people being like, hey dude, I want in, you know, let me in Kenway Construction. And super wealthy guys that are like, here, like I have, you know, infinite money, and yeah, exactly. But I was like, no, like this was my grandfather's since 1967. And even before then, when, you know, he was just like loading manure with a track loader, and like, I'm not giving up a piece of that pie. So cash flow in the sense of where like we're growing with no outside investment and it's all in-house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's all just like, you know, you're putting out so much money buying machinery. We just acquired land for a ridiculous amount of money and office space.
The shop's really cool too, by the way. The new
Yeah,
shop.
thanks. So yeah, and that was a huge purchase this year. Like that's like $2 million. And then so you put out $2 million, and then there's 6,000 feet of square feet of space that you now have to rent out. So then there's office space. So then that's another 500K, and the bank doesn't want to lend you the 500K to rent it because it's not worth like it's just this whole thing. So then where do I find that 500K? But then we have this big water tank project starting up where those tanks are $275,000 to buy, and I won't get paid for that job for another 120 days. And then fuel bills, and it's just like it's never ending, but that's what I love about it. And that will always, I don't know, at some point maybe it doesn't end, but I feel like if you're growing a business, cash flow is always going to be your biggest concern. Exactly. And it's totally normal, like I have sleepless nights. Like my heart went into AFib like twice this year because just sitting up at night fucking freaking out, like it happens. That's just business.
Yep.
So yeah, those two things.
How do you, like, on a contractor side, when you're dealing, 270 grand for just a fucking tank? That's insane. Do you ever like, hey, I'm going to need this much down in order to get these tanks? Or do contractors work with you in that sense? Or, if they don't, or if they do, how do you go about that? Like, what are some of the, things, in Canada? I'm sure the way business is done is not very different between the two, US and Canada. But I know, like, here, if you want a project, obviously bid the project, but there's no help until that first 30 days. And then you got to wait 45 to even get paid.
Yeah. I would say like 90% of the projects we do, on the residential side, we do a 20% deposit upon signing.
Yep.
And that normally will
And is that B2C though, or B2B? Like residential for like a contractor, or residential for like an actual resident?
Yeah, right to the homeowner.
Okay. Yeah.
When we're doing right to the homeowner, we're getting 20%, and that normally covers it.
Yep.
But when it comes in is the commercial work.
Yep.
So I have the business set up right now, that there's a residential and a commercial, and the residential basically gives the cash flow to the business in order to keep growing, because homeowners will pay out, like they pay their 20% deposit, and then 5 days after you're done the job, they're going to pay you. Like you could finish the job on a Monday and then get a $60,000 check on Friday. Awesome. Fantastic. That feeds the commercial side of it, because, honestly, it's kind of like tough shit. Like if you want to get in and do bigger work, these larger companies, like, and I'm like, oh, well, like I really want to do this big job where the water tank's 275 grand, and, but I don't have the money to buy the tanks. They'll be like, oh, well, then why are you even doing this job? It's an $800,000 project. Like this could sink. And then they get worried and scared too. Right. So like, I think don't bite off definitely more than you could chew, but the resident, like, that's what I mean. Like, so I figured out in our business, how do I maintain cash flow? How can I do that? Residential. We have to do residential. I'm not saying every business, but that's how we structure it. Residential. I love dealing with homeowners. I love it. It's great.
I agree with that on the residential side. When you do a project, they're paying you within like 10 days.
Yeah.
When again, on the contractor side, you get paid, but everything that you're getting paid for goes to expenses right away. There's no profit in those first couple drops.
No, it's all, and you're putting out so much wage and fuel and materials and like aggregates, like if we do a parking lot job for somebody and you're bringing in like 9,000 tons of gravel and you're not getting paid for 120 days, but the pit wants to be paid at max 60 days, then like you need to find that money somewhere. So that's what I mean by cash flow. It's like, it's never ending. I mean, like, but that's what gets you up in the morning, right? Like just being like, all right, if we don't do this, we're fucked, We're
not making,
and that's why winter time, like a more predominant issue as to right now that I'm dealing with is, and a lot of contractors deal with up here is wintertime. I don't plow snow in the wintertime. My insurance won't even touch us if we plow snow. So, last year we did land clearing. This year, hopefully we get into some more land clearing and maybe some more commercial projects pop up in the wintertime, but winter work's always a big struggle for us too. So right now that's what I'm trying to secure is some wintertime work.
How do you keep guys in the winter? obviously not doing snow and doing the land clearing side, but is like everyone kind of seasonal? You're like, yep, here's, April till November, we're having you guys full time. Come winter time, it's hard to guarantee anything.
Yeah, honestly, like last year it was like I didn't know that I had work for my employees until December 12th.
Really?
And like
Yeah.
Christmas shutdown is December 17th. And then it's either like I'm telling them, hey guys, like you're getting laid off, or hey, we're coming back in 2 weeks and we're hitting it hard.
Mhm.
So right now I just don't have, like, right now all the guys are like, they're already starting to bug us about that. And I'm like, guys, like there's no secret list, because they're like, oh, like am I staying on? And I'm like, there's no secret list of
Yeah.
who's staying on and who's not staying on. The goal is to keep everybody on and have enough work that we just keep going, like that's
Right
the
into spring.
goal.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the whole point. So like, how do I maintain the guys over winter? Is just literally just find work, keep the work going. And if not, then hey, you got to do what you got to do for your business. You got to lay guys off. You got to lay guys off. Like I'm not going to go bankrupt trying to keep 22 guys going. Like I would have to sell my house. There would be a massive decision that would have to be made. So you got to do what's right for you and your business in the end, which is like the heartless part of business, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
How do you keep like, obviously with your guys, you seem pretty close with them. I feel like they all, even in the videos, again, they all look up to you. They all really respect you. How do you keep, business, and we'll call it pleasure, but basically business and friendships? How do you diversify from that? And how do you make sure, like, okay, if I have to lay you off, it's not personal, it's business related? How do you explain that to them? Or how do you keep that, respect, maybe is the better word for it?
Honestly, that's a really good question, because that's something that, 4 years ago when I started taking over and we were 4 guys and now 22. And yeah, I have learned so much from employees over the past, like my guys taught me so much over the years, of like how close is too close with your employees. And finding that line, that when you show up, they respect you and they want to do a good job for your company because they genuinely just think you're a good guy, you're a good person, but not getting too wrapped up to where they get too comfortable and maybe aren't performing as well, because I think they can get away with it. I've had a few employees that like that are no longer with us because it was like, I was going over and above, my duties as a boss and being more of a friend. And it ends up just biting you in the ass. So I've definitely learned that. But, when it comes to the conversation of being laid off, that's what being a man is really all about. It's walking in with your head high and telling them the God honest truth. I don't bullshit my guys ever. Like, that's why when they're like, what's going on for wintertime, man? I'm like, guys, there's no list. There's no secret list on a whiteboard somewhere that says this is the guys that are staying and this is who's leaving because we like these guys better than those guys. Guys, if we have work, we're working, and if we don't, I'm coming in here saying enjoy your extra long vacation because we got nothing, and I'll call you when we do. And I tell them, if you guys are out working for someone else, don't worry about it. Whatever, it's all good. You guys have to look after you, yourself, and your family as well. And that's what I got to do too. Talk to them like a human being. Honestly, that's my best way. Go in there like a man, grab your balls. This is what we got to do, guys. This is what's going on. I just feel like people aren't receptive to like bullshit, and they can tell when they're being lied to, and it's like, fuck that.
Oh, 100% they can. People aren't stupid.
No, exactly. And like, I have a good relationship with my guys, and like, we do a lot as far as culture, and like social media helps so much as well too, because the guys like love it. They love being a part of it. Some guys, like I have an older guy named Dean that we bug all the time, and like he hates being on camera, and that's kind of like his thing now, and like, but he likes being that guy that he's gonna listen to this and fucking hate that I'm saying this, but I know that
I know who you're talking about. I've seen a couple videos of him. Like first he kind of like diverted the camera. Now he's like front and center.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just kind of like, it's funny seeing that girl. Like, that's been awesome for the business, honestly. The doing YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. Like, I'll come in and they'll be like, dude, I can't believe like we posted that, or I can't believe we talked about that, or like, dude, that was a sick video of the footage. Like now they know what I'm looking for. Like my biggest thing is I love when the guys give the middle finger in the it's like slow motion drone middle finger shots. I love that. So now they're always just like, fuck you, you know, like, and I'm like, yes, nice. I'm like getting the drone shots. I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's important having a good relationship with your guys and everybody, honestly. Doing stuff for culture, having barbecues, shooting the shit with them, being one of the guys. Don't put yourself above them.
Yep.
Just be a human being to them, and generally people will be receptive.
Yeah. What are you drinking tonight? Are you a Scotch guy or a whiskey guy?
So yeah, this is a Scotch whiskey from Scotland. It's Oban. It's a 14-year-old single malt. I love this. This is my favorite. I did land clearing project for a guy. We reclaimed some pasture land, and I have never gotten a gift from a customer in my life. And one night I was sitting here in my office and I saw him walking up to my front. I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck did the guys do? And I was like, damn it. And he walked up and he gave me a book, a really awesome book. It's something to do with Titans. Anyways, the title of it's really good.
Remember the Titans or something? Classic.
No, it's about becoming it's a red cover. How can I not remember it? It's not, anyways, it's about like your personal self and notes that famous people have taken in athletes, and it like gets in your head. It's really good. And he had the bottle of Oban and he explained it to me, and I fucking love the Scotch. It's a great Scotch.
It's the Tools of Titans.
Tools of Titans. That's the one. Yeah.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, my wife's reading that right now, so she loves it.
I love it. It's man. I'm actually going through it my second time right now. Just because you miss so much the first time through. It's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah, Taylor, do you think you're a good shit talker?
Yeah.
I would probably give him one of the best. I remember early on, we commented on one of Taylor's photos, and this was right between.
I got one better. I got something. You keep going what you're saying, but I came prepared for this, Luke.
This is.
I came prepared, Luke Payne, right?
So
how you pronounce it?
This was right at the time. Like Taylor's like, yep, 315 off to Payne.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with this. And
I knew you would think of this one. But it's going off to Payton. My guys are like, Luke, we gotta beat Taylor on Payton the 315. I was like, guys, I don't think it's gonna happen because our guy is like, this is all the time I've got. It's gotta wait till then. And I remember he came out of Payne, and I think I commented, I was like, have you guys ever heard of this Taylor White guy?
That's
and Andy, one of my guys, commented back. He goes, no, never heard of him.
Never heard of her.
Like 2 seconds later, Taylor replies to us and he goes, ask your mothers. And I was like, I've got nothing to say to that. That just like stop. That was it. That was the conversation.
You know how I knew that it was all love is because I was like, oh fuck, like you know what? At first when I saw it, I'm like, because you get so much shit online. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, like this guy's actually fucking mad. Like I love that. But when you liked my comment to ask your mothers, I was like, oh, okay.
You're like, all right, I'll love. That's good.
I'm
that's
like,
good.
I get this. I'm like, okay, he's fucking with me. I like it.
Oh yeah.
But no, I came prepared for because I was like,
I was laughing
at this guy. What the hell that was all about? Never heard of her. I was like, you motherfucker.
I love that. I can't imagine like all the shit that you get on your videos. And I was like, I gotta put something out there that like will catch his eye. And I was like, that's gotta catch his eye because I know people know who he is, and he knows people know who he is.
Well, people were tagging me like, dude, anything that is black, that is machinery, I get tagged so much. Like every single thing that is like a guy paints something black, I get tagged in it. And I was getting tagged in your video, and I'm like, motherfucker painted a 315 black just like me too.
You like that fucking cocksucker.
It looks slick though. How do you like your 315?
Dude, I love it. I mean, I think it's for what we're getting into now, and we're growing into more of like the commercial side of things. It's a little small, but I mean, it's a Swiss Army knife. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, no, 315 is a great machine. For us, it's we have had it on some commercial projects, but for us, it's just like we call it our residential beast. Yeah. Because we were doing backyards that we couldn't fit in with our 325. We were going in with our 308, but then the 308 is great for small trenching and small jobs. But doing a large septic system or doing an excavation and then loading a truck with a 308, it just wasn't it. I'm like, I need something in between, you know? Yeah. So then we found the 315. I'm like, that's the machine for us. And we got the rubber pads on it. So when we go on people's asphalt, it doesn't fuck it up. Oh man, I love that machine.
What made you go with a 325 at first? Was it just the projects upcoming? You're like, I need a big machine for it.
Yeah, I think it was that, but I think it was also a lot of me just being like, that's fucking sick. Like, you know, kind of the saying, like, if you build it, they will come, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like, I actually think, like, when we first bought the 325, I don't even think we had enough work to keep a 325 busy, but I was like, if we get a 325, we will make it work. We'll get into bigger excavations, we'll get commercial stuff, and it worked out. We painted it black, people got talking about it, and they're like, oh, hey, Chemway Construction's got a bigger shovel, yeah, you could tackle this project. And literally, it is like, I remember 4 years ago we had a Komatsu 170. That was our only excavator, 17 ton. And we used a little Terex for, so I guess we had two excavators. We had a 4-ton Terex, and that machine was used more than our 170 Komatsu. Our 170 Komatsu sat in the yard probably 60% of the time all summer, because there wasn't too many bigger jobs where we needed it.
Mhm.
And just this summer, I remember I was saying to my old man, to my dad, and he's just like, yeah, I tell you, like, I can't believe how much we use a 325. Like, it hasn't, it's so dirty and filthy, and
Yep.
and because, and I'm like, God damn, I'm like, but it's a good thing, because it just hasn't been back to the yard in order to get clean
Wash it.
all
Yeah.
summer. So
Yeah.
it was a great investment for us. We bought it and it like went up crazy in value, like just the next year. And like,
Oh, dude,
yeah.
they shot up.
Oh man,
Bad.
I the 315, I hesitated on it for a month, and my sales guy came back and said it went up 10 grand, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, like, come on,
Like, come on. No, I already have, I've got a
yeah.
quote here. We're going with that one.
And he's like, there's, I'm telling you, man, it's 10 grand. This was last year, like peak, like COVID pandemic, you can't get nothing, and prices, and yeah,
Yeah.
it was
If you don't
crazy.
sign here, you're not getting shit type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember we quoted out a 317 right away when we were doing it. And from year to year, it went up 100 grand.
Yeah.
Because the next year I was like, I need another one just to finish, just to go with our workload. And I got like the copy, and I gave it back to my sales guy, and I said, all right, give me the real one. And he goes, no, Luke, that is the real one. I said, I'm not interested. Not even remotely.
Yeah, that's fucked. Is it 317? Does it have a counterweight, or is it
It does. It's not a
no
zero
ass?
swing. So it's got
Yeah.
a little,
I'm a big
ass.
fan of the no ass. I want to say I love them. I really want to do the 335. We have the possibility to do a larger project next year that is like involves a heavy subdivision building and a lot of deep trenching. And it'd be a machine that I wouldn't put a rototilt on.
Just
I
a
would
dirt
just probably,
slinger.
yeah, exactly. Just a production machine, sewer and water machine. It'd have a clevis on the end of the bucket, maybe buy a swivel for it too. But just a kind of a production machine. But 335 would be nice to finish out like the no ass series. At 335 would be a nice addition to stuff, but the work's got to be there. I mean, I got quoted 650,000 Canadian 3 months ago for fucking 335. I'm like, no, I'm good. I can't do that.
Jesus. It's crazy how expensive things are, but I mean, the work is there too right now, but like you had talked about earlier, when is this going to shut off? When are people, and we're noticing this too, is like people can't get to projects. So the projects are just out for the picking. Can you get to us? Yep. All right. You got the project. Doesn't matter what you charge as long as you can get it done. In our area, it's like, okay, when is that going to stop? And it's got to be sooner than later. And that's where I think the whole relationship piece, like almost telling your story, creating that presence is really going to help you out. And whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, whatever it is. So
yeah, I agree with that. I think like the people that are going to prosper if there is a slowdown, which I'm going to say I would go ahead and say that we probably are at the start of the slowdown right now. I know some landscapers that are starting to slow down, and it's just slowed down, but it's like how it was for the past 2-3 years just wasn't normal, like it was insane. The real estate market was insane. Everything was insane. You had a 1999 Nissan Altima with a fucking catalytic converter ratting off it, and you'd be like,
and they're
I
asking 10 grand.
I got 20 grand for it. And it's like, dude, the thing's
it's
worth
like, dude,
like
I hope you can sleep
$1,500. It's fucked. It was just a weird time, man. Like, I honestly love doing that. I love sitting back with a glass of scotch and thinking back on like what the fuck we just went through, and even then what we're in right now. Like, boys, that's fucked. Like,
it was super high, and now we're getting to the lows at some point. But
yeah,
I don't.
but the lows aren't lows.
The
You
lows
know,
aren't
Right.
low. It's like normal. It's
that's
what
what I
it
mean.
was in like 2017, 2018. I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And the same with the housing market. Like my neighbor's house went up for sale and it didn't sell in 3 days. So everyone's like, holy fuck. And I'm like,
We're
it,
crashing.
yeah, we're like, it's the fucking world's falling apart. I'm like, and it took like 2 months to sell and it sold for what they were asking for in 2 months. And I'm like, guys, I remember selling my parents trying to sell our house when I was like 10 years old and it was up for sale for a year and a half. And they
Yeah,
took like
yeah.
200 grand less than what they wanted for it.
correct.
And that was like, well, good. We got close to what we wanted.
And you're like, what? That's not even
Yeah.
no. Yeah, crazy times.
It
That's for
is,
sure.
man. It's fucking crazy. And even right now, you know, like today, well, RIP to the Queen. First
Yeah.
of all, should have started the episode off with that.
Yeah, R.I.P.
But damn, man, you know, like it is a weird time right now. There's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of stuff. But I would say I think construction is a good industry to be in. I think just be a good reputable company. And I think that, you know, be smart. Don't spend more than you're bringing in. And you probably will get through it.
How do you, Luke? I'm sorry, I'm kind of taking the show here with all these questions. I'm learning myself as well. But like on the contractor side, Taylor, like how do you develop your relationships? How do you go in, or like how do you meet these developers, contractors, whoever it may be? Scotch. I like that.
Seriously. Honestly, that's a big part of my job as like business development is just networking and like everyone. This is the most asked question on Instagram, and I always say the same fucking thing is. I just started a construction company. How do I get into doing what you're doing? How do I start a construction company? And I start with the same thing, saying I didn't start a construction company from scratch, so I can't tell you that part. But what I can tell you is get out there, join an organization or an association, and shake hands with people that can get you work or give you work, or know somebody that can get or give you work. Now, networking and making connections are the most important thing in any industry or in life.
Yep.
Like if you can sell ice to, I can't say that probably.
Ice to an Eskimo.
Yeah, you said it, not me. If you can do that, you're set, you know, like, and it's not about being a sleazy salesman guy. Like, hey, I got a fucking deal for you. Like, if you can go and just entertain people and understand personalities and people and like, what does that guy like? What does this girl like? Okay, interesting, cool. Go out for lunch with them, have a couple drinks with them, get them loose. Hey man, if there's anything we can ever do for you, like, fuck, just let me know, man. We'd love to work together, you know? Like, dude, networking single-handedly so important. That's how I get in with contractors and meet awesome new people.
Yeah, but that's surface level, right? Like there's obviously more to it, and I've thought this since day one, but contacts are political, right? It's kind of who you know in the space, and you got to set yourself in front of those people in order to get the opportunities in a way. Yeah. Right. Because if any, say there's a municipal contractor where I'm from, and they know somebody who's starting up a construction company, and then there's another guy, and they both reach out at the same time. Resumes are the same thing. They're gonna go with the guy to where, you know, my dad always says you come from good stock. They know that stock behind that person, so they're gonna give that person a chance.
Yeah, I think that's right. You're right. There is a lot of stuff behind it. Yeah. I know that it helps maybe that where you've been in business for 54 years.
Yep.
And we didn't just pop up overnight. But again, another thing that has really helped me get in the door with these people, like I talk to, like sometimes, like my friends always joke, they're like, oh yeah, Taylor's probably got a number for a guy for that.
Yeah.
And
you're like, honestly, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I use social media. Like I remember there was this massive company that was blowing up in Ottawa, and everyone was like, I'd love to sit down with the owner, And one day I was looking on my Instagram and I'm like, motherfucker follows me. Shit, cool. So sent him a DM and I'm like, hey man. And although he would never sit down with, I honestly truly believe he would never sit down with Ken White Construction, you know, Taylor White, if it wasn't for my following, because maybe it adds a sense of like Credibility, exactly. Yeah, I think so. I think that actually helps a lot in my instance for sure. I do use it to my advantage because like I built the following, so why not use it, right?
100%.
I'm building the business, I'm building the brand, so I definitely use that as well. But yeah, honestly though, like join at a construction association, like that's so important. Like there's got to be a construction association where you guys are, and like literally if it's like $1,000 a year to join it, that's going to be the best $1,000 because at some point they're going to have a dinner, a night dinner. Go there, shake hands, bump into the guy at the bar, ask your buddy like, who's that? Oh, that's so and so. He's the COO of this company. Blah, blah. It's like, oh shit, hey, let me buy you a drink, man. Give me 5 minutes, let me buy you a drink.
Yeah.
You got to be social. You got to know how to do it without being a fucking weirdo. And right, because some people aren't self-aware.
How did you learn how to do it?
My dad.
Really?
Yeah, my dad was always taught me, like when I grew up, my dad always taught me business. Like that was always our thing. And he was always really good at talking to people. And I always joke and I say like 75% of my childhood was just listening to my dad on the phone, on speakerphone, So picking up how he talked to people and how contractors talked and how like you just talk to other people in the business was super important. I think that just kind of stayed with me for a while. Yeah.
When did you know like you wanted not follow in the footsteps? Because I don't think you're following in the footsteps. I think you have a completely different path. But like, when did you know you're like, I want to be part of this? I want to be part of this company.
So yeah, to not give the full, crazy long spiel of it, like I always from day one was helping out my dad, like in the family business. And like it was never always like it was now. Like like I would say from like 0 to 10, like my family, like from 0 to 10 years old, we really struggled financially. And like my mom was a hairstylist and she cut hair in our house and she would work insane hours. My dad would work insane hours. And like we really struggled for about 10 years. And then eventually from there, he got better at business and had he made a good connection actually in a big commercial project that really elevated his company and gave him some credibility. So I always worked with them, from there. And I remember being like 12 and working on the job site and finding it super interesting. Just, I don't know, I was a kid, and who isn't interested with dozers and excavators, right? And then through high school, I kind of took a bit of a turn, like a big partier kid, and thought I was too school for cool. Anyways, you know what I mean. I'm not even gonna say it. That and I ended up going after high school and working out west in Alberta, which is like the Texas of Canada. I love Alberta, awesome place, savage place. And I worked in the oil field and ended up working out there, and just kind of I got separated from family out there, and I was like, damn, like, you know what? Like, I'm out here doing this and I have this massive opportunity back home. And now I'm like 19, and I'm like, I have a massive opportunity back home. I just kind of woke up one day. I woke up and I'm like, I have an opportunity that not everyone has, right? And then that's like my biggest thing that people always, hate on for. It's like the easy target, right? And I'm like, man, like I have this thing of like this business that's doing, it was doing sub $1 million maybe. And when I was 19, so that's 8 years ago, we were doing like, I don't know, 500, 600 grand. And he had like 4 guys working for him and extra stuff. Like you can imagine, he's not taking home hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Like we lived a great, comfortable life, but we were not rich. And I kind of was like, I want to act on this opportunity. I want to go back and work in the family business. So I loaded up my truck. I drove back through the States. Actually, it was awesome. Went to like Montana and like North Dakota and stuff. It was sick.
Oh, yeah.
And then, and then I came back here and I started working the family business, and I started doing laboring when I was 20 years old, full time, 20 years old, and then running machinery. And then about 4 years ago, I was like, hey, like, I want to do some social media stuff. And I'm from a small town. And he kind of looked at me like, what? What the fuck is that? Yeah, he's like, you like Instagram, like your sister uses? Like I have a sister. And he's like the app that your sister uses, you want to put our business on that? And even people around here in the small town that I was in, they're just like, yeah, you see like Ken White Construction, like they're like posting stuff. You're like, he's posting videos of himself on there, like working. Like it's so weird, dude. And that's just 4 years ago. It was so weird. Like that's what I mean. We're so early in this shit. But anyways, that was when I started realizing like I want to do this. There's something that I can do here with the family business. Don't fuck up on this opportunity that a lot of other people would love to have, you know? And I acted on opportunity, and that's all I did. And that's all I am doing currently, trying.
How is that? Because I know you've talked about it before, but like just the doubt in the self of like the Instagram piece, how taxing has that been, like the health side of things, like the mental health side of things? Like, how do you hear all that in one ear and be like, fuck, I don't give a shit what you're saying out of this here, and just kind of act on it?
Because the overall goal of like setting up generational wealth and setting up something so amazing for my wife and my kids and their kids and then their kids, like that is the whole reason behind the branding. Like when I wanted to paint our 325 black, that was our first thing that I'm like, you know, that was last year. And I was like, Dad, I'm going to paint an excavator black and I'm going to put white on the boom so that when my daughter's driving down the road, or me and my wife, I can be like, look in that field, look at, and just see white. My grandfather's, like our family's last name, just swinging dirt. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's why it's so easy to block out everything else, because like, I don't care what those people are saying, man. Like, and you shouldn't either. Who gives a fuck? Those people are just upset, you know? And like, I feel bad for them, man, because they're not living like I'm living. They're not living happy and, you know, full of love and joy. And like, I always think like, what headspace would I have to be in order to say, hey, Luke, hey, you're a fucking loser, man. You know what? Like, screw you. Your black machinery must be nice, making so much money to paint your machinery black. You know, it's like, I don't have time, nor do I give a fuck to comment that shit. So that's what I think. Like, I would have to be in such a dark place in my own mind to comment to somebody like that. So that's why it doesn't bug me, because I'm just like, they're just not doing it, you know?
Yeah. You just have such an elevated mindset.
Yeah, you got to, though. You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm old school in the sense of like, I'm a man, you know, and like, I'm not afraid to act like a man and be a savage. And I think that that's something that is like kind of refreshing maybe now for people to hear, right? It's like, there's nothing wrong with fucking getting up every day and sucking it the fuck up and going to work and not listening to bullshit and just getting after it for your family, to make a better life for your family and my employees and the people that work for me. Like, I want them to do really well. I want to see them go on vacations and be able to afford stuff and like live a stress-free life. So like, that's the goal. You just got to get up and do it.
I agree. The stress part though, right? Like, there's no such thing as stress-free. And obviously you've kind of pointed that out, like biggest concerns, cash flow and things like that. Like that mental space. How do you keep yourself, you know, above, you know, your mind saying, nope, this isn't going to work. How are you going to pull this off? Like, how do you stay above that? Because I know I even struggle with that, to where I'm like, I got $1,500 in my bank account. I got 15 grand of payroll coming out tomorrow. What do I got to do? Not act.
Yeah.
I mean, that hasn't happened yet, but hopefully it never happens.
Yeah. No. Well, no, I mean, first thing that comes to mind is like, I just
being a man, just sucking it up and doing it.
It sounds unhealthy when I say it out loud, right? But like, there's no other option. Like dealing with stress. So like I run, so I work out. I don't have a runner's body. I don't have a workout guy's body, but like, that's something I do religiously every day. So you could say that is something that I do to handle stress all the time, because like when I'm running, I'm thinking clear. I feel good. I feel healthy. So that's definitely something that I do to manage the stress. But I mean, like, honestly, sometimes, the stress just gets unbearable. Like I had fibrillation this year, like twice, like just back June 28th and then November 28th. So like, talk about stress. I know all about stress. My fucking heart went into crazy rhythm just because of so much shit going on in my life. Business.
I remember that video.
Yeah, man, it was
crazy. Out of the hospital and you're like, no more scotchy poos for a couple days.
Yeah, and here I am drinking scotch. But yeah, I mean, honestly, dealing with stress, you got to deal with it in a way that helps you. I wouldn't go any further into this conversation because I'm not an expert on it, other than saying I run and I work out.
Yep.
That's what I do to manage stress. Other than that, I'm just good at talking to myself. I talk to myself. Maybe that helps a lot too. I like have conversations with myself in my truck all day. Like if you're driving beside me, you probably think that I'm on the phone with somebody, but I'm just talking to myself, like making up scenarios and like, I don't know, I'm weird like that. And I feel like maybe that helps with stress too, because I'm always like prepared for like the next thing, you know?
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe that sounds fucked up, but
No, not at all. I like that. Because I feel like, I mean, just talking about things, I feel like helps a lot. Just airing it out, kind of getting them out through
that's
the
what I'm saying. I
chest.
talk
Right?
to myself.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I just talk about it. Like, yeah, I talk out loud, and dealing with stress is something you just got to do. There's no such thing as a stress-free life, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like, how much can you handle? If I got to the point where I couldn't handle it, I will be like, all right, I'm tapping, I'm done, you know?
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to that point yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever can. I don't think you ever will, just because of how, what I see, the confidence in yourself to where, I can go farther. Like
Yeah,
this,
I don't know.
small
I don't know
rope.
what's happening 2 weeks from now, 2 years
right.
from now, 20 years from now. Maybe it will be. Maybe I will fucking be like, all right, I can't fucking do this anymore. But as for right now, like, I love it. I run on chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever have anyone reach out to you like in the industry about stress and about like, working through some of that?
Yeah, I get other business owners all the time on Instagram asking me about, how do I manage everything that I got going on? How do you manage the business? How do you manage the growth, stress, a lot of like mental questions too. How do I deal with anxiety, or I feel down, and I'm just not a professional on that stuff. So like I like giving advice about like I'm honest with them. It's like, I'm not a therapist, man. I don't know. I don't know what you should do. Like I do deal with anxiety all the time. Talk to a therapist. That stuff helps a lot.
Yeah. Like you're not a professional, but at the same time too, like, cause Luke and I have been doing this podcast now for 6-7 months and it's blown up. And the most, messages we get are people that when we have an episode where people dive into some of the issues they're having and some of the stresses that they're having, it's like they feel that, okay, they're not the only ones going through that, and they can hear some of the similarities in the industry. So just even if you don't feel like you're an expert too, sometimes talking through it and showing people that like, yes, this is what I'm doing. I'm not the expert, but this is what's helping me. And I know, like you said, running, even talking to somebody about it, talking to yourself about it. I think there are certain things that may help other people too, because even just knowing that somebody else is going through it too can help a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not that I'm like not wanting to talk about it. It's like the subject, it's like, oh, let's not talk about anxiety or depression or stuff. I just don't want to give somebody the wrong advice, because like I know what works for me, and that's probably not what works for everyone else, like like I have family members that do therapy, but like I've never done therapy, well, that's a lie, I have, but I would say start talking to a therapist, I don't know. Again, it's like
the
I get up
man
every
stick.
day and I get up every day and I go to work.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter how I'm feeling. I still have to show up. Like, that might be different for another person. And that's what I'm trying to get across, is that like, don't listen to me when I say like, just get up and still go to work, because like maybe you can't do that. I know there's people that are so caught up in their lives that they can't even get out of bed. And like, I just don't know what that feels like. So when people ask me like, dude, I'm so depressed, like I can't get out of bed. I can't do this or I can't do that. And I'm like, I think you should seek professional help for sure. But like, I can't give you advice on that because I have to show up every day. There's no other option. Maybe it's unhealthy, but
that's the side of social media not a lot of people talk about, to where they've grown such a following to where people almost look at them as like a professional in their industry, but then also outside professionals, because they're like, oh, well, he's doing it, I'm doing it. We must be thinking the same things.
Yeah. No, yeah. It is crazy. When being in the spotlight, like the term influencer obviously sounds like very childish, but I've actually like, I don't mind embracing that, because like being an influencer, like I'm a micro influencer. I mean, I don't have a massive following here, but Being an influencer means you have an influence on people. Like that's what it means, right? And like you guys have an influence on people. It doesn't matter if you have 100 followers or 100 million followers.
Yep.
You have an influence on people. So I think always being cognitive and like thinking about that, and that's why I'm like careful with what I'm saying about this stuff, because it's like,
Yeah.
I know that there's people listening that might be like, well, Taylor said I just have to get up and go to and just do it, like just fuck it. And then something bad happens to them. So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't know what the answer is for you. All I know is the best thing is professionalism, and like talking to somebody is the best,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I like that. So as far, obviously, kind of getting off the topic of like the mental side of things, what are your guys's, and I've been curious on this yourself, like your Jordan year. What was kind of like your peak Jordan year? I feel like it would have been, and granted, I'm sure you guys did great up to them, but I feel like you, like Ken White Construction, really took off on like the platforms when that 325 was painted. Everyone's like, holy shit, it's black, it's big, it's cool. Maybe it was just me, but I feel like ever since then, it's just skyrocketed. And you see a lot more of it now, like painted skid steers, obviously painted excavators. I think we had ours done first, but
painted 315s, you motherfucker.
Yeah, duals.
Yeah,
Hey,
I got
boys.
something coming too. If I could fucking grab you by the throat right now, I would. The good thing we're not in the same room, but
Yeah, it's a good thing.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that tough. I talk about being a man. I'm not. I can't fight worse shit. But I actually, it's funny when you say like, yeah, like the Jordan, you're right, 100%. But that's why we did it, right? Like that's why I did it for brand recognition, and because it was cool and it was different, and I knew that it would create an impact. But I also did it for, I guess there was like an ego thing about it too. Like you have to be a bit of a narcissist to paint it black and to put your last name on the boom so big, and to create a following and go on social media. And I think there's a part of that too that I'm not afraid to say, like, I do love myself a little bit, and I love my business. My business is like I literally will not wear any other construction company's clothing because I feel like I'm like cheating on like, my wife or something. Like that's how I feel with it. But I would agree with like that really pumped us into the spotlight, because people are like I still to this day, I don't think there's a black painted 325, and it really pissed people off. When I was like,
remember some of those comments.
The world's first only 325 painted black, and people were like, no, there's one in Australia, and it was like this big counterweight, like 1989 fucking cat, like 320, and I'm just like, no, man, that's not. There's no other one, dude. So like, I think that yeah, man, that really helped. Building hype around it really helped. But I think when you say that a lot of people are painting stuff black now, I agree. So that's why I think like I got something coming down the pipeline that I'm gonna I might change stuff up. I don't know, but there's something coming down the pipeline. If it's
gray, we're gonna have a problem.
No, it's not gray.
Okay, good.
It's not gray.
That's good.
But I wish I could tell. I'll tell you guys maybe off the podcast, but yeah, I want to keep it a secret for now. But
hush hush.
It's it's gonna be sick.
I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, man.
I'm excited.
Yeah, those were our Jordan years for sure.
Love that. This is kind of a funny story. I had a guy who's local to us. He's actually, his name is Mike. He was probably like the first one in like our area to get black skid steers. Obviously we have black skid steers too. And I put it in order with Cat. We're on our Bismarck Western side. We're going to do gray, and that's no secret. And somehow he found out about it, and he was like, you motherfucker, you're trying to copy me. And I was like, no, dude, I'm not trying to copy you, but clearly great minds think alike. So he's like, one of us needs to buy each other out. I'm like, no, let's not do that. You can take Fargo with gray. I'll just do everywhere else in North Dakota.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, no, yeah. I haven't had any of that, really. But the only thing that comes to mind with that is like, we bought a dump truck this year. And it was a special order Western Star. It's a beautiful 4900 SF set forward front axle. It's like, I'm obsessed with new trucks that look old, and that's why I love it. And I'm a Western Star fan. And to get a long nose kind of style looking Western Star, like that's what cranks my gears. I love that shit. And I had one guy who ordered another one at the same time as well too, and like I don't know how he got my phone number, but he got me on the phone one day, and it was like the middle of the day, and he was just reaming me up, and he's just like, you're fucking telling people that you have the only one. Like I have a truck like this too. And it wasn't even his truck. It was like his boss's truck that he ordered. And it was just like this whole thing. And I'm just the whole time like, man, like
You're just like, shut the fuck up.
I'm just like, I just was speechless. I'm like, buddy, I cannot believe that you think that it's okay to call me in the middle of the fucking workday to tell me that you're upset because I bought the same dump truck as you. Was like, well, I was going to be the only one in Ottawa with it. And I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck. It's like buying a Silverado and being mad at another guy for buying a Silverado.
Yeah.
Like, who fucking gives a shit?
Sorry, but if you're mad, go buy another one. Then you'll have two.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't get caught up with that stuff. I don't give a fuck. But the only thing that revs me up now is like I know you've been doing black for a while, but so many people paint excavators and dozers and shit black now that it's just not unique. I find it's not like I feel like when we did the 325, there was other people that were painting machinery black 100%, but I feel like the black 325 was like
that was completely different.
That's what and I don't know, maybe it wasn't, but in my eyes, I feel like it was like, okay, that's not like a 4 or 5 ton that the guy painted. Like that's a 25 ton, 320. That's a brand new off. Like I didn't even put dirt on it yet. Painted the fucking thing up, put a rototilt on it. Like it was just like, holy shit, it was unique. And then I feel like the 315 didn't hit as hard. And even though like it was all black, light bar, tinted, rototilt, and like, yeah, it's cool as shit. And I fucking love it. But maybe it's a size thing, but I don't know. I feel like black is like a lot of people are just like, oh, what's fucking cool as shit that I can do? I'm going to paint my shit black. I mean, you got to see it too. It's a little frustrating because it's like, fuck, now I'm not like unique, you know?
Yeah, you see it a lot more and it's not as like wow factor anymore. Granted, you know, on my end,
it isn't.
Yeah, it is and it isn't. It's, you know, it is what it is. It's just this is where I feel like people kind of get creative, and like yourself, you were like, you know, you were ahead of it to where you had went the video route first, and then you had, you know, obviously you had them both at the same time, but then you have this excavator in there to where now people are like, well, where the fuck do we go? So it's going to take someone to really step outside of the box. You know, they'll have their stent for probably 3-4 months until people realize, hey, I can do that too. And then they'll copy again. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, I agree. There's another company. I think it's like Roscoe Contractors or Rosso.
Yeah, they're all black.
I think he does some work for them or whatnot, but they're all black. And I think like that's like great. Like they have massive machinery that's like painted black, and it's like, wow, you know, it's cool as shit, and they got really good production value. And I think that they do a really good job at it. So like I'll let them have it, you know. I'll do something. I'm going to do something different. That's fucking cool as shit. I still love black, and like all our dump trucks and everything will be black, but fucking other than that.
Yeah. On to the next.
I'm on to the next.
Swiping left.
Yeah.
On the Equipment World Tinder.
That's so 2020. You can keep your 315.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Keep your fucking measly 315.
Never heard of her.
Never heard of her. Oh, that's great. I love it.
I was coming prepared, man. I was coming prepared. I was like,
man.
I had a screenshot, and I was like, because you know, he sent me an email. Good guy, Luke. He sent me an email, not bad Luke. Good Luke sent me an email, and he's like, hey, like he's a host as well. And I'm like, man, like Black Iron. I'm like, that fucking guy. That's the guy that fucking commented that. So I knew I was coming prepared today, but
oh yeah, Luke and I had a conversation before where I was like, Luke, we should have Taylor, but there might be a little camaraderie here.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, you just got to do it. And I was like, I'm not worried about it, but
no, Taylor, we've already got the thumbnail dialed in, so it'll be good.
You're gonna laugh at the thumbnail. You'll laugh at that.
Motherfuckers, just make me look good.
Oh, we will.
Yeah, it'll be good. So yeah, I guess as we wrap up here, Taylor, any last words? You know, obviously as we head into
you're gonna kill me.
No, any last
words, motherfucker? Before I ruin your career.
As we head into Con Expo too, I mean that's going to be massive in March. So obviously we're all gonna, you know, there's gonna be a ton of people there. It's gonna be crazy. But
I can't wait.
What are your plans for Con Expo? And then what are you doing out there?
Everybody, go to Con Expo, and like anybody that's listening to this as well, even you guys, if you want 20% off Con Expo tickets, literally go buy Con Expo tickets from their website and use the promo code podcast20 and you save 20%. And your tickets are the cheapest that they're going to be right now. So like just go buy your tickets now. It's the 14th to the 18th, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's the 14th to 18th. And yeah, I'm going to be there the entire time. I cannot wait to see everybody, speak to everybody. I was supposed to go in 2020 and COVID ended up, you know, kind of throwing a toss into that, which was too bad. But I'm pumped for this year's Con Expo, just to see everybody in person. And then the podcast has a little bit of hype to it as well. And that's why we got some really good guests lined up for everyone to hear too, as well, and kind of create some hype about the show. And you get to see everybody in person. So look, I'm looking forward to it, man. You guys are going, right?
We're going.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, go obviously check out the podcast Con Expo Con Egg. Just search it, and then if you're buying your tickets, use the code podcast20, 20% off. And then if you're going to any of the educational sessions as well, I'll be speaking on Wednesday at 2:30. You can find it. I believe it's the importance of building an online presence for small to medium sized contractors. So we're definitely pumped to see everyone there. And, you know, Taylor, it's been a pleasure having you on the Dirtbags podcast. Obviously it's a long time coming. I mean, everyone's been asking to have you on, so this is going to be huge.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. It was a good time. I had my scotch and I said what I needed to say.
There you go. Good deal.
Good deal. All right, man. We'll see you at Con Expo.
Okay, boys.